Mike, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Can I?
I can just listen and it's totally fine.
You gotta love technology.
Okay, just hang tough for a second here.
We will hang tough and let Mike get himself organized. In the meantime, I would like to welcome everyone here to the social scene. It's after 7 on Tuesday, May 17th, 2022, and I will call this meeting to order. I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we're meeting on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, and the homeland of the Métis people. Thank you to Frank and Dennis for setup and cleanup here at the social scene. And on behalf of council, we welcome residents and visitors in the audience. It's nice to have people in the audience. Thank you for coming. One more item on behalf of council and staff. I would like to extend condolences to the Farrell family on the recent passing of Tom Farrell. Tom was a councillor and a reeve in the RM. He was the Deputy Minister of Labour for a period of time. He was also the Mayor of Thompson for a period of time. He was very involved in this community and very involved in the social scene. His contributions to our community and to the province were varied and many, and he will be missed. My understanding is there's a service on Friday with the tea to follow here at the social scene. All right, and now introductions. I will start on my left.
Hello everybody, I'm Councillor Mike Bartmanovich.
I'm CAO Lon Turner.
Penny McMorris, Mayor.
I'm Graham Randall, Councillor.
Erwin Kumpka, Councillor.
And on the screen,
That's you,
I'm
Steve.
Steve Axley.
thank you. All right, moving to the agenda, be it resolved, the agenda be adopted. May I have a mover, please? Erwin, thank you. Second, Mike, thank you. Any additions, gentlemen? Oh, thank you, Mike, that helps.
None from Councillor Axworthy.
No, all right. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you very much. Minutes of the regular May 3rd, 2022 meeting of council have been circulated electronically to all members of council for their review. Be it resolved that the minutes of the May 3rd, 2022 regular council meeting be adopted as presented. May I have a mover? Mike, thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
Graham, thank you. Any discussion on the minutes, gentlemen?
No, they are accurate.
All right, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Following our agenda, we have two delegations tonight. The first one is Stuart Justa. Stuart, you're here to speak to us about Valley Fiber. So would you like to come up to the microphone, please?
Thank you.
Just make sure the mic's on first.
Is it on?
I'm not sure.
That's on. Okay. Basically, the reason I'm here to speak is that I watched the presentation or the sales pitch that Valley Fiber did before you at the council meeting. And having watched that, I ended up with a number of questions that weren't really discussed or mentioned in terms of the debate or the questions that the council asked them. So among the other questions would be, at least 5, would be the total length of the installation. I don't know whether you know this yet. Whether it will be contiguous to all the property owners in the community or the municipality. The maximum number of the connection boxes by the system to individuals. The time for the work to be done, in other words, how long it will take. And is it going to be completely buried or is any of it going to be above ground? So these are all, I think, important questions. None were really dealt with. The real problem arises from a question that Steve Axworthy asked, and that was the depth of the trenches that the cable would be buried to, which is 3 feet, was mentioned, a 3 feet depth. Now, if you are digging a trench, there are two things. If you're digging a trench beside a tree, and it's 3 feet deep, at Victoria Beach, given our soil conditions, what happens to the roots? cut, okay? And there's a fantastic tree down right now on Sunset, just opposite 465 on First, just opposite 465 on Sunset. The tree roots are 25 feet in radius. And they're branches, they're actually like limbs, okay? They're not really concentric, they are limbs. You cut those off, what happens to the tree? Where does it fall? On a power line. What do we have? A fire. So that is really, I think, a serious point that has to be looked at. If you're going to build a trench, you might have fires. The other thing too is we have roads. Are the trenches going to be dug across the roads, or are there going to be tunnels under the roads? I have no idea. And so these are sort of important issues, I think, that should take place. I've looked into the financing of all of this, and just to bring you up to date, they're going to go into Springfield Municipality, $26 million worth of cable, 485 kilometers in length, and it will access supposedly 3,500 households. Okay, so in other words, it's a big project. They have a total of either 260 million or 328 million. There are two figures out there. They intend to connect 48,500 homes. It's a small company in Winkler, but is actually owned by a rather large Dutch company with $9 billion called DIF Financial Partners. Okay, so you can look all this up. Now there are two other points that were made. One point is really, really important. Apparently they said they were going to send you a legal agreement that you would sign in order to bring them into the community. A legal agreement does two things for them. It will basically minimize their liabilities and maximize their rights. Okay? They have expensive lawyers. Okay? If you $9 billion, you have expensive lawyers. So I think that if you are going to deal with them or consider this project, you have to give very careful consideration to the legal implications of any contract that is signed with this particular company. The other point that was brought up was that we have public works employees. And it was mentioned that if they do come here, our public works employees will help them out. Now the trouble is, we pay taxes to public works. If I want to build a shed, and I phoned Public Works and I said, send 2 employees over to help me build my shed, does Public Works do it? No. So if you do decide to introduce them into the community, I would suggest that you charge them. In other words, any time that they are using any resources in the community, they should have to pay. They're a private company for profit. They supposedly have $328 million, a lot more than Victoria Beach. Okay, so basically, these are two, I think, important things. So we pay Public Works employees, we pay for our services, we pay our taxes. A private company should not access them without payment. And finally, if you are going to have an agreement with them and you want to go over the legalities, I suggest they also give you a grant or a payment to pay for the lawyers that you employ. Why should you have to pay for that? They're not giving you anything. They are here to acquire customers. They need Victoria Beach. We don't necessarily need them. Some people might like high-speed internet, but we don't really need them. They need us. Okay? So, there's a lot more information. One other thing that should be noted, anybody who wants to adopt this model of internet access, you will no longer have direct access to a 911 number. You have to go through a third party. Probably will be sort of out there to Alabama or someplace, and secondly, you might not get through. If there's internet congestion, you will not get through to 911. Okay? This is from them directly. I'm not making this up. This is from Valley Fiber. Okay? Anyway, any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mike, please.
Thanks, Stuart. Now, I had asked Valley Fiber a question very specific to that, especially to that point, to 911. And that is, the fact is, I asked, did they use standard VoIP, voice over IP protocol? And they said they did not. They used a different protocol so that they could actually, you could be specifically located in a location. in the case of an emergency. I don't specifically recall them saying yes or no to 911, but I would suggest that if it's non-VoIP technology, that either they're already working on an issue, it isn't an issue, or it's an issue that will be remedied very soon.
Yeah, but it's not remedied at the moment. And secondly, if you're basically a private company, you are trying to maximize profit. And you will do it in the cheapest possible way that you can. And also, I don't know whether or not they told you, there is a proviso. Internet interference means you cannot get through, regardless. Okay, I would check their website. I mean, I read it very carefully.
Okay, I'm going to go back and double check that for myself, because I didn't get that impression, but if I missed it?
You missed it.
Okay, fair point to you. Okay, I'm going to have a look at that. Thank you, Stuart.
To address one of your comments about us having Public Works help them, that was meant as when they come out, if they need direction or if they need to know where our infrastructure is, that's how Public Works will help them. They're not building infrastructure.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, okay.
I know they're not building the infrastructure for them. They're actually still hiring people, okay? And if you look on the internet and you look at, let's say, performance reviews, customer complaints, they're unlocked. In other words, they make promises, we will do this, we'll be there, not there yet. Okay, so, I mean, it's a small company, they have 40 employees and they're managing a very large project.
It was really just a verbal remark that we made to Valley Fiber that our public works people would cooperate with them, i.e. show them around or point out where the objects are. As far as the legal agreement, Valley Fiber has asked Council for a letter of support. We have asked them to submit to us a template. What is their version of a letter of support? I'm not sure if we've received it yet, but be sure that we will be going through it very, very carefully. And I like your point about the legal fees that may be associated with that. Now, I know we're kind of pressed for time, but could you give me, in as few words as possible, in point form, your 5 questions once again?
Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, sorry. The total length of the installation, like how long will it be within the community? In other words, in Springfield, it's 485 kilometers. Second, will it be contiguous to all property owners? In other words, will it cover the entire municipality?
Got it.
Okay. Next is the maximum number of connection boxes. In other words, if they put in a line, they may have smaller lines going off to 4 different properties.
Yep.
Okay. The other one is time for the work to be done. What is the work schedule for completion once they started?
Yep.
And finally, is it going to be completely buried, or are we going to have orange lines up in the sky?
Okay, I've got these and they will be dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To my knowledge, they were very specific. There's no orange line in the air. It's all buried.
And that's what I thought too. But are they going to be tunneling under the roads, or are they going to cut the roads to cross them?
How they lay it out, they are going. They're talking a lot about horizontal drilling, where they can drill up to, I think they said 300 feet between access holes. So if they do have to go over a street, I would strongly suggest that they would just drill under the street as opposed to trenching up the street. They're aware of the fact that where some of the cabling may be going is close to number 1, our water lines, down our back lanes, and they've said they want to be as little impacted as possible. Basically, in 20 minutes after they've been there, you wouldn't know that they were there. That's
what they claim.
That's what they claim, yes.
If I was selling you something, I would claim that too.
As far as the boxes, there are incentives for one connection box, possibly 2, but they think 1 will do it. And that, in all likelihood, that would go on our property pretty close to where that hydro building is, a little further down 59.
The MTS building.
The MTS.
Well, we're not sure where it would go
Yeah,
yet. They haven't
That's one
determined.
possibility.
No, that's not the major one. I mean, connection box, I mean, the small ones in the ground.
Yeah, and those are all apparently buried, like
Yeah, they're all
they're,
buried.
no, they're surface.
That's right.
So I don't know how many of those. Those are good questions, and we will try and get those answers. I can tell you that I'm a member of the Eastern Region Municipal Committee. There are 10 or 11 of us in that committee from Eastman Region, and many of them have Valley Fiber. They rave about it. They all had legal look at their documentation as well. My concern the other day when I brought it up was, you know, they're a small company, they've got a lot of money, they're growing fast. Are they doing a good job? Are they in a hurry? And everyone who has dealt with them said no. So, I mean, there's always room for disagreement, but so far what I'm hearing is good, but we're nowhere near signing any agreements yet anyway.
Because the thing is, they actually mentioned 2022 to be up here, this year.
Yes,
Yeah, so I mean, that seems really fast.
it does, I agree. But thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great presentation, thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.
Sorry, just have one quick point.
Sorry,
has
Steve,
one
go
quick
ahead.
point. Oh,
It was just this, it was sort of two things. The first is, as far as I'm aware, although as Penny points out, we haven't seen the agreement yet, and we're obviously going to look at it very closely when you receive it. I think the biggest thing to note here is that I for one will not sign anything or with RM into any position to say that it's going to be an exclusivity agreement. So that means that if somebody else wants to come up in the future in terms of other options, there's already other internet options. So there are some things obviously which we do need to look at, especially when we do get the agreement. But you know, so far it looks very good. But obviously, if anything, it's going to put council or the RM in a tenuous position, then we wouldn't do it.
Thank you.
exclusivity would be very difficult, seeing as how there are other incumbent providers already here.
Okay, thank you very much again, Stuart. Next up is a presentation from the Northeast Red Watershed District. I see three of you here. So if you could please introduce yourselves, and thank you for coming, and the floor is yours.
Turn it on.
Need a green
Is
light.
that better?
Yes.
You can hear me now? Okay. So I'm Andrea McLean. I'm the manager of watershed planning and programs with Environment, Climate and Parks with the Manitoba government. We sent an email to councils that are currently not members of the Northeast Red Watershed District. Plans for the province is to try and expand participation with municipalities in the Northeast Red Watershed District this year. Chris is our watershed planner in the area. We have a presentation that can we load it up?
I don't know. Mike, can you plug in somewhere?
Yeah. If not, we can just wait.
Well,
It'll be
I
fine.
mean, yeah, if you wanna plug it in, I can do a share.
Are you gonna lose Steve though?
I think Steve will just become a smaller window. Just give me a minute here.
Sorry.
Always get that short end, don't you?
And then we have Colin Gooding here. He's the manager of the Northeast Red Watershed District. So I'll talk a bit about the program as a whole across the province, and then Colin can talk about specific programming that would be available in this watershed district. So the Watershed District Program is a municipal partnership program to work on a watershed basis and improve local watershed health. It's a municipal provincial partnership program where funding is provided by the province, and then there's a minimum requirement for the district to match with municipal levies. So this year, there has been additional funding from the province to expand the Northeast Red Watershed District. Currently, that district also manages some infrastructure, but at this point, we're just talking about expanding the program on the conservation, protection, watershed health improvement side of the programming.
Just give me 1 second here. I want to see if I can share this so Steve can see it as well.
Okay.
this one, so.
It's in the
I
middle.
would say, let's not slow down meeting, I'm thinking we put everything up.
Yeah.
That's,
Looks like that. I don't think that-
Are you still with us, Steve?
Yeah, Steve's with us. Let's cancel that. Yeah, I didn't think that's right.
we broke the meeting. We can probably just go off of this, if you can see that, okay?
mouse.
Okay, so I'll just continue.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
So really, this is an incentive-based program that's grassroots driven from the local area. So the various municipalities that participate in a watershed district appoint members from the community onto the sub-districts. And then the sub-district's elected chair, and that sits on the main board of the watershed district to provide that watershed health and improvement type programming. So like I said, it's incentive-based, non-regulatory. We have 14 watershed districts across the province. You can probably advance a couple of slides, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, that's good?
Yeah, you can go to the map. So we have 14 watershed districts across the province. Currently, there are 109 municipal members. Since 2008 or 20, we have expanded the participation in the Assiniboine West, Central Assiniboine, Pembina Valley, and Red Boyne watershed districts. So it is a municipal voluntary program. There's no requirement to participate, but it is a great way for municipalities to work together on a watershed basis. So like I said, there's a provincial grant. In 2020-21, the grant was $5.4 million. And there is that requirement to match for every $3 of provincial money provided. There's a minimum requirement of $1 match from the collective municipalities within a district. In addition to that, there's several external funding sources that watershed districts as not-for-profit agencies can apply to. And more recently, there's been more specific pots for these watershed districts to generate. So back in 2020, 2021, the total program value across the province was about $12.6 million. These 14 watershed districts have over 80 full-time employees and about 200 volunteers participating in the program. So like I said, this year, the grant went up to $6.44 million, and the hope is to expand the Northeast Red Watershed District this year. Next slide.
Just have to say, slide.
Slide. So why join now? The Watershed District program is really based on local decision-making around the needs of the watershed. So it's the specific members of the district that are making decisions on what projects, what programming is happening to improve local watershed health. It's consistent core funding, so that 3-to-1 provincial funding provided to the district. I believe Northeast Red District has been around for about 45 years. Yeah. And all along those years, the province has been behind the program. More recently, we've had some changes in legislation. So the program used to be called the Conservation District Program, and back in 2020, there was a shift from 18 conservation districts to 14 watershed districts, and now all of the watershed districts are based on watershed boundaries and not municipal boundaries. And the kind of big carrot is a new investment by Manitoba government. So since 2018, the province has established three conservation-based trusts called the Conservation, Grow, and Wetlands Grow Trust. And so the interest generated from those three trusts through the $204 million investment provides consistent perpetual funding for conservation-based organizations in Manitoba. And specifically, half of that is designated for watershed districts to deliver outcomes in watersheds. So GROW is growing outcomes in watersheds program. This year alone, watershed districts were successful in getting over an additional $7 million in programming dollars. So the Watershed Districts Act is actually what establishes all of the 14 watershed districts across the province. And in order to increase membership by municipalities, we need to pass a regulation. The Act itself outlines the process in establishing a district, what are the requirements, ways to calculate the municipal contributions, sub-district and board responsibilities, the management of operations and budgets, and the requirements of the boards to implement programming according to a watershed management plan. So here is a map of the boundaries of the Northeast Red Watershed District. The area that is not gray is the area that's currently participating in the program. And what we're doing right now in May is talking to councils that are not part of the program to see if there is any interest in being part of the expansion process. We need to write an expansion proposal that would be vetted by council. And part of that, at that point, would be a resolution in support or against being part of the future district. So here's...
We didn't get a chance to rehearse this before.
Yeah. We came in late, yeah. So here's an outline of the expansion proposal itself, or process itself. There's a bit of an information exchange is what we're trying to do today to see if there is any interest from council in being part of the consideration for expansion. Typically, a municipality can also drive an expansion proposal by requesting to be part of a district. We're kind of skipping that second step because we already have the money in place to expand the district. In June, we draft the proposal, review the financial structure, governance, programming aspects, and the proposal is really what we use to draft the future regulation. So our hope is to get the final proposal out to municipalities for their consideration in June, probably mid-June. And then councils are required to have 60 days, according to the Act, to consider that proposal. And you can either pass it or say, no, we're not interested this go around. Once we have all of those resolutions in place with the councils that do want to be part of the district, then we draft a formal regulation, and that's through the cabinet process, and hopefully by next April, those councils that want to be part of the district are formally part of the district. So I think at this point I turn it over to Colin. Next slide.
Is that Colin's slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Colin. Thanks for having us out. So part of what we've done in the past is we work collectively with a bunch of different municipalities to create the Cook's Devils Creek Integrated Watershed Management Plan. So 4 of the goals of the IWMP are, as you see here, surface water management, groundwater quality, surface water quality, and natural area preservation. So a lot of the programming that we do is kind of geared and targeted around those 4 areas. So if you want to slide. So yeah, some of these here are all came from the Cook's Devils Creek IWMP. As Andrea had mentioned, we do have access to the Grow Trust. So we've recently began delivering the Northeast Red Watershed District Grow program. And that's been working on private lands to do small water retention projects, enhancing wetlands, stream bank stabilization, and riparian area management. Some of the other stuff we do is we also seal abandoned wells. I think right now we charge $100 to the landowner, and the district covers the rest of the costs and arranges for that to be done. So obviously good for groundwater protection as well as safety issues. We also host water festivals just to educate youth. We work with a few schools in our district currently to put on these annual water festivals that just geared towards educating youth on conservation-based programming. As well, we do a lot of water sampling of the Cooks Creek in partnership with the Lake Winnipeg Foundation. So yeah, you can go next slide. So yeah, our GROW program currently, we partner with local landowners and producers to provide ecological goods and services to the watershed. And like I mentioned, we focus on retention of water, wetland enhancement, riparian area management, and creating buffer strips. We're able to currently pay, through the GROW Trust, we're able to pay individual landowners for having these projects on their land. And we pay at 3% of the assessed value. So if we do an acre, or we do a 5-acre project on someone's land, we're to pay them per acre price. And we sign them up with conservation contracts that are between 5 and 10 years. So if you want to go to the next one. So here's just an example of a project we did on a farmer's field here, just created a small water retention project. If you want to go to the next slide. So in that same thing, just 4 to 5 acre piece of land that it was marginally farmed, and it's a good area to capture water and provides benefits to the watershed as a whole. If you want to go to the next one. Same thing here, private land, we built the water retention, and this is in the spring. Usually that road washes out, but we were able to hold the water back on the land and prevent downstream erosion. Yeah, same thing here. You see that L-shaped retention pond. So just another one we worked on. And
Sorry.
no, that's good. It's all good. You can go next one. So, and this one here is a piece that the district owns. It's a quarter section. We were able to create banks just north of the town of St. Genevieve off the main stem of the Cooks Creek, and that we access fund through the Conservation Trust, and as well as a bunch of different external grants. So we paid that with almost 100% external grants, and that stores 110 acre feet of water. If you want to go to the next one, just more pictures of that water retention site, kind of functioning as it should.
No houses in the middle of there, is there?
What's that?
No houses in the middle of there?
No.
Okay.
No. That actually, yeah,
They floated away.
Yeah, no kidding. Someone was going to build there years ago, and the district bought the land for this purpose. So perfect spot for it. So yeah, if you want to keep going, and then this is a stream bank stabilization project. Again, we accessed external funding to do this project. That's the Cooks Creek right there. You see the banks eroding into the creek, so you're able to access dollars to repair that.
What about retention of the integrity of the banks? Are you promoting vegetation again as a way to hold the banks?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the after picture, we did seed it afterwards. I just didn't have a good picture of it seeded. So, but yeah, absolutely, we seeded afterwards. And then in some areas, farmers use the dikes to take hay off it as well. But so yeah, you can go to the next one there. But yeah, so I already touched on this abandoned well sealing program. It's a good program that we run, but if you want to go to the next one. And yeah, same thing, I touched on that as well. So next one. And there's some other opportunities, education programming and presentations to schools. There's the Oak Hammock Marsh on the Go program, Ag in the Classroom, River Watch, and community tree planting projects as well that are available programming. So that's pretty much it for me, if anyone has any questions.
Thank you.
Okay,
We're
thanks.
not finished yet.
I know we've got Chris left.
I'm just here to look pretty.
Oh, well done.
He is the muscle.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, does council have any questions for Erwin?
Yeah, the presentation is very interesting, and I'm just not sure whether it makes sense for Victoria Beach. We have no rivers, we have no streams. We do have a small marsh. The old part of Victoria Beach is pretty high.
We have no
The only water retention pond we have is Traverse Boulevard, which is a drainage problem when we have heavy rains. So, what's in it for you folks, and what's in it for us?
Yeah, I think the education-based programming would probably be what we would be focusing on in this area. Andrew, please.
So not necessarily specifics to the programming for the amount that you would be putting in. It's really about municipalities working together on a watershed basis. So Victoria Beach doesn't have streams, rivers going through it. We don't have farmland here. So probably minimum programming, but remember that the programming happening upstream benefits downstream. And it's part of that collection of municipalities working together on a watershed basis that really drives the program. If there are specific things that the community is looking for in terms of improving local watershed health, that's that value of that local decision making and the grassroots nature of the program. This is typical watershed district programming, but City of Brandon doesn't work with it either, right? But they've developed programming with the watershed district that's relevant to their unique needs for the watershed.
We border on one municipality, and there is a watershed issue with Alexander and Victoria Beach. And would this help us negotiate some improved drainage that would reduce the chance of the flooding in the bottom part of Albert Beach?
We have an issue with that.
Yeah. So it could mean that maybe I don't know the specific issue, sorry, but if our Alexander also came into this process, which we're hoping to talk to them about this too, is upstream retention in Alexander might help alleviate flooding concerns downstream for you guys, right? And being part of the program and the municipal levy doesn't necessarily mean that the program value you're going to get is within your municipality. It might be a project that happens upstream in Alexander that benefits you guys because you guys are working together on that watershed basis for those watershed issues.
I harken back to this slide here because we may not have rivers and streams in this municipality, but we have a huge, sometimes angry lake, and shoreline stabilization is something that we should be very interested in. And therefore, I would love to hear more about what this program can do for us in terms of lakeshore land stabilization.
Yeah, so not necessarily something that you currently work on, Colin, but there is East Interlake Watershed District, which is the municipalities on the other side of the lake. They do have erosion shoreline issues, so there is opportunities to do that type of programming, riparian area planting, so putting in willows and natural vegetation to hold and stabilize the banks, as well as rock armoring if it's required, that kind of programming, yeah.
Okay. Penny.
I just had one quick question if I might.
Yeah.
It's sure supposed to be, and I may have just missed it. Is there a financial commitment that's being asked for from the RN?
Yeah, so it's the 3-to-1 basis of funding. It's kind of a chicken and egg. So we have available funding to provide to the district, but right now we're trying to see which municipalities are interested. We've done some preliminary analysis, and this is where Chris comes in. I think it's around maybe $1,500 for Victoria Beach to participate in the program. That can vary depending on who wants to be part of the future district, and land assessment and area. So we take all of that into consideration. What would happen is if council is interested in seeing the proposal to see how the government structure works, how the financial commitments work, there'll be a range of what the levy would be that will be explained within that proposal for your consideration. But I think roughly around $1,500.
So we're just to confirm that it'd be $1,500 annually?
Yes.
Okay, good presentation. Watershed suggests flow. In my experience, water flows downhill. So we have to accept the fact that we are at the bottom of the hill. It's Lake Winnipeg. Everything flows into here. My interest would be I'll say primarily based on whether you're able to sign up Alexander so we can do some deals with them.
Yeah, if you can convince your neighbors to chat with us.
Oh no, that's your job.
So how many more municipalities are you trying to reach out to? Because you've got a map there that's very great.
Yes, yeah. So a significant expansion for sure. We have municipalities, we did St. Anne today, so that would be expanding their current membership. And we're basically a traveling roadshow for the next 2 weeks to go talk to municipalities. So I think ones that we're waiting to hear back are St. Clements, Alexander, Town of Boyd, or Beaujeu. Lactabani, we're waiting to hear, but I think there was a couple of CAOs that were waiting for a little while.
Because is it the number of municipalities that participate will dictate the cost per municipality to a degree, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we're sitting around a room and we want a project in our municipality and municipality B wants an even bigger one in their municipality, how do you determine who gets the funding and whose project is more of a priority?
You want to take this one?
I can just take a stab at it.
How about a dartboard?
Yeah, so all these shaded areas, they're called sub-districts. So you'd have different members from different municipalities on each sub-district. And, you know, these sub-district committees would meet, you know, X amount of times per year to kind of rank and prioritize projects. So within those small committees is kind of where you know, would kind of have to convince your colleagues that which project should be prioritized and maybe which we should wait till next year. Well, currently we do that with our current area and it works pretty good. It is kind of spread around. There's also other areas that do sub-district budgets, so you know you could look at based on the funding that you bring in and the size of the areas, you could have different sub-district budgets. So, yeah. But I guess just working collectively and trying to view things on a watershed basis and not just the. I mean, in a perfect world, we would do that, right? But yeah.
Right. Thank you, Mike.
Saying that prioritizing projects is a common practice. Whose criteria is applied to prioritize the projects? Are we supposed to go in a room and fight it out to see what the criteria is, or does the province set the criteria for prioritization of projects, given the fact that there's going to be inequities in size and resources of different municipalities?
Yeah, in a lot of cases, the province and our external funders would set those priorities. So, you know, we may, if someone wanted to do a project, but it didn't really align with an external funding opportunity, we probably just wouldn't be successful in getting that grant. So projects have to have merit before any action is done on them, I guess.
All right. Just let me ask you a quick question. Are you familiar with the group? It's a spin-off of Western Diversification known as Community Futures Winnipeg River. The municipalities that you're trying to zero in are very well represented through CFW, or they had a forum just a couple of days ago. I'll just throw it out to you that a presentation to them might give you quite a bit more traction. If you want to give me your email or something, I'll send you the contact, okay?
Yeah.
Good.
This annual levy, can it be reviewed every year, or is it an agreement we sign in perpetuity that once we're in, we can't get out? Or?
So like I said, it's a voluntary program that requires us to establish regulation. If a municipality would like to get out, they just need to provide notice. And then 18 months later, we get the regulation in place that changes the district back or removes the municipality as partnering.
All right, any other questions? Steve, you're hiding, but do you have any other questions? All right.
Nope, I think everything's been answered pretty thoroughly. I see benefits. I don't know how much this could benefit us overall. I mean, we do have a couple of issues, as was mentioned, with some drainage with RM, but I think overall it's pretty comprehensive, and yeah, I'm satisfied.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any
That's an old report, so.
Yes, old
annual reports.
And don't forget to get your thumb drive.
Steve, did you want to see the presentation? I can ask for if,
Oh, I saw it.
was that? Oh, you did see it?
I saw it on my screen.
Oh, perfect. I did it right.
How did we do that?
I crossed my fingers and hit the button, that's what happened.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming up here from St. Anne to Victoria Beach. That's quite a day.
Yeah.
That's a bit of driving, so thank you.
So if the council could just let us know if you're interested, there's no commitment when we write you into the proposal. Obviously, that commitment comes through the resolution in support of the proposal. But just let us know if you're interested in seeing more or if you're not interested at all.
We will do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Drive safe.
Stick around for the rest of the exciting evening.
We haven't even got to the good stuff yet. The money.
All right, moving along. We have a variance hearing tonight for 58 Hampton Road. This hearing is to vary the minimum front yard from 60 to 40 feet for an accessory building at 58 Hampton. Per the Planning Act, registered letters were sent out to all residents within a specific radius of the property to inform them of the variance and to ensure they were aware that they could support or object to this variance. I will ask our CAO if there were any objections received.
Noted.
Letters of support.
Either.
All right. I can also advise that our building inspector has no concerns regarding this variance. I spoke to him today. Does council have any concerns about the variance on the table? Mike?
Just when we say frontage, is this to the street or to the lake? Sorry.
I believe there's a representative of the, no, is the representative here? No. Okay.
Oh, it's a garage in front.
Right, it's to the street.
Yep. It's not like from
Okay, yeah, that's okay.
from 60 to 40 feet.
Right, okay.
So it's a 20-foot difference.
But,
So-
well, the issue is
Microphone,
always... I'm sorry. No. The issue that we always face with these is who is harmed? Is anybody harmed by this? Nobody has objected. It looks like a pretty benign proposal to me. We got an email that another member of the Visick family might appear to speak to this. The second? Yeah. But they don't appear to be here, do they? No. Well, I'll say that I don't have any problem with this.
Okay. Any other comments? Steve, any comments?
Only as far as I understand, it's not encroachment onto the water. So, and if nobody's complained, then, or raised any sort of objections, then that's no reason to block this.
All right, if you look in your council package, there is an outline of the property and
The map.
map, and so it's a large lot. There's lots of room. All right, hearing no further objections, I will close the hearing on this one, and just hang on here. Are we going to do this further down, or do you want me to? There's a resolution for it? All right, too many pieces of paper. I have it here, all right.
Get the mayor a bigger desk.
No, get the mayor better organized. Be it resolved that the Arm of Victoria Beach Council approve variation application 2022/4, varying the minimum front yard width requirement to allow for a new garage as follows. Minimum front yard width seasonal resort district from 60 feet to 40 feet. May I have a mover? Erwin, thank you. Second? Mike, thank you. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Steve?
Steve votes aye.
Carried. Thank you. Up next, we have a public hearing to close a municipal road. Find these notes again. Once again, per the Planning Act, information and letters were sent to residents within a specific area of this property. 2 ads were also placed in the Winnipeg Free Press to advise residents. At this time, I will ask our CAO again if there were any objections or support letters received on this.
Neither.
Neither?
You call the office, just give information. But that was it.
All right, and council is aware of this project. We've already passed first reading. We're swapping a lane for a lane.
Yeah.
It's the next one.
All right. Okay, so any other questions here? I know there's no representative of the property here. Are there any other questions from council? Oh, sorry, Stuart. I can't hear you, sorry.
Sorry, what you're doing is fine. The property owner will get 500 square feet of extra land because of this, but big deal. Okay, and if the only property that might have been affected is the one south, they're not concerned, it seems, so easy to do. But what I would suggest to council is that you put on or digitize a survey of the entire municipality. Okay? No, you can digitize it, right? And put it on so that, because somebody had put something up there which is really interesting. Apparently a copy of the survey was made about 2005, and it actually showed this, I mean, like anonymous. And I would suggest if that survey went up, it would be great for residents in this kind of issue.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Can I just say one thing? On the provincial assessment website, I don't know if you've ever been on that, it shows all the roll numbers, and it shows where the lots are, the public road.
Oh, it does, okay, thank you.
It's not to be used as a professional survey, but it's pretty close, and it gives you an idea of where everything is.
Okay, thank you for the information. Thank you.
Manitoba Assessment Online. It also provides valuations, assessments for properties.
By roll number.
Okay. All right, any further discussion on this topic? All right, I'll close the hearing. And we will deal with this further down, correct? Okay. Moving on to committee reports. We will start with Public Works, please, Mike. Can you access your?
I can access it. Everybody gets to see the reports while I discuss them. Just give me a second here, and I believe Steve should still be able to see what's going on. Okay, I have to put my microphone down for a second because my mouse died and I have to two-hand scroll.
I don't know how anybody can prefer a touchpad over a mouse.
There's just no accounting for some people.
Thank you.
So, as many of you know, on both 8th Avenue and Albert Beach, the Victoria Beach water systems are being pressurized, and extensive walking and testing of the lines is being conducted, especially on the 8th Avenue water plant and distribution system. While many people are delighted that the water is on, I caution them that the water is subject to interruptions in service. I know that there was a rather large repair that had to be effected on the north end of the water system into Sandy Bay, and that work was supposed to just happen today. There is a boil water advisory, whether your water is running or not. A provincially mandated boil water advisory is in place for, I believe, 7 days from the official day start of operation. So if you've got the water, boil the water until you've been told otherwise by Public Works. Good way to find out when the boil water advisory comes off? Sign up for VB Connect. Also, if you happen to hear or see leaks in the lines, please call Public Works at 756-2286, or their 24-hour emergency number 756-2568. While all this excitement is going on, of course, the grading of roads is going to continue once the water is up and running. Gravel will be put down as needed, and dust off will be applied very soon for all of you clean air fans out there. A reminder, again, brush piles can be placed on the roadway in front of your properties now until June 5th. Please brush only. No dimension lumber, no scraps, no metal of any kind. When these foreign objects get introduced to the grinder very easily gets damaged, and then it's unavailable for days. And that means the brushing season starts to encroach into the summer season. So please, just brush in the piles. Public Works will also be working to clean up on trees and brush that fell victim to the recent windstorms that we had. Excuse me a second. Once again, and I'm seeing this myself when I take my recycling to the large green GFL commingled bin. Folks, we're paying to ship air if boxes are not broken down, if your recyclables are not broken down. Please don't put entire computer boxes, television boxes, printer boxes. Please flatten them before they go into the recycling. You do it at home, do it here too. The smaller green GFL bin is for glass and glass only. Not the box that the wine bottles came in. Not the plastic bag that the bottles came in. Please, just glass in the bin. It costs us money to recycle this stuff, and every time there are foreign objects in the recycling, it costs us money. We are penalized very heavily. And of course, the attractive green garbage bins are for bagged household garbage only. And again, we have someone who decided to leave their used oil in the Public Works yard just the other day. Don't do it. Take it to the disposal site on Highway 11. If you wish to purchase a bear-resistant bin, we still have a few left from our recent order. Contact me. Appliances, construction material, old barbecue, styrofoam, old paint cans, anything that is e-waste, anything that is toxic or dangerous waste. Clothing, furniture must be transported to the Traverse Bay landfill area. There are charges for some items to be taken to the landfill, but for the most part, going there and disposing of your garbage is free, and you can stop by the Public Works office, or I believe the Winnipeg office, and get yourself a landfill pass. Again, the RM of Victoria Beach cannot and will no longer be responsible for hazardous waste or electronic waste as per environmental compliance and enforcement. Okay? We don't want the RM breaking the law by providing a convenience to residents. If you have paint, oil, solubles, take them to the landfill, please, along with your TVs and old radios. As always, water samples from the well at the fire hall and the Albert Beach pump house are taken to Winnipeg on a regular basis for mandatory testing. And if you have any questions on any of this, sign up for VB Connect. You're missing a lot of great information if you're not signed up. That's Public Works. Oh,
Thank
we have a question.
What are people to do with leaves that they've raked up in the spring cleanup?
Right now, and people have been saying to me, you know, there's something wrong about this. I think we're going to have to review the reasoning for it. But right now, leaves can be put in clear bags and left on the roadway in front of your property, and those bags will also be picked up by the RM.
I think what happened over the years, Mike, actually, and one of our residents can attest to it, people put all sorts of stuff in their leaf bags. And so if you deposit them at Mr. Fluke's Gardens on Highway 59, and he dumps them into his garden, he gets all sorts of unwanted debris. So we went to the plastic bags, the clear plastic bags. You know, if people would just put leaves in, we could go with paper.
Right. And if there's foreign objects in it, they will not pick it up, and they should.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where we went to. And I know Tim has his hand up, but we don't have question and answer period anymore, Mr. Fluke. Sorry about that.
How about Steve?
Sorry, Tim.
No, sorry.
Anyway, that's Public Works. Thanks, Ben.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to add. Go ahead, Steve.
So I was just going to just point out three things from, or I was supposed to add three things on to Mike's report there. The first, before anybody emailed us saying that, well, we promised that there would be any more boil water advisories. Well, that's true during the regular year, but that we always have a stocked up generator. There's always going to be a boil water advisory at the beginning of every season. The reason is because we have to heavily chlorinate the lines to clean them out. So that's the reason for it. Every year at the beginning, it's always going to be the same because we don't have control over that when you start up. And I know that Mike had touched on this, I just wanted to overemphasize it, that whenever you start up a water treatment plant that has been inoperable for a time, then it is a requirement. It has nothing to do with malpractice or our guys not doing a good job. They do a phenomenal job. So that's the reason for it. The second thing is that air-resistant bins are now mandatory, so get them while you can. Otherwise, you're going to be going out for a walk, or you're going to have to get a taxi. And the last thing is that just to address the leaves issue, and I think that it is something not just for the leaves issue, but in general, is that I think long term, because it is a little bit expensive. I looked at the beginning of the term, is that Victoria Beach should be looking at a compost program. It is an expense. There are certain requirements that need to be met, but I think going forward as the generally environmentally responsible community that we try to be, that's something that we need to move forward with, because I'm in full agreement with everybody, which is that the plastic bags, they're untenable because they destroy the environment and they don't degrade.
Point of order, hold, Steve. These are committee reports. All very good points, but.
I just wanted to point those things out, so I apologize.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. I would like to add one more thing, Mike, to your report. I'd like to thank our lead hand for nabbing a hydro employee last week, I think. He saw him on the road and he said, do you normally put lights in back lanes? And the hydro man said, no. And Trevor said, can you follow me? And they went down to Thomas Drive, and Mr. Hydro Man climbed up and disconnected the light in the back lane on Thomas Drive and is making arrangements to have it removed.
Very good.
So thank you, Trevor, for stopping him and taking him by the hand. Finance, Erwin.
My report outlines our financial position at the end of April for this year. The Victoria Beach reserves stand at $1,038,000, and that's up $248,000 over this time last year. Accounts receivable and miscellaneous assets stood at $120,000, and again, that's up $12,000 over last year. Our cash balance, I love this, is $314,000, and that's up $134,000 over last year. Our operating deficit, and we normally run a deficit at this time of year, stands at $390,000. So that's $62,000 less than what it was last year. If you combine reserves, cash, and receivables, or what I refer to as my golden rule, it's the municipality's ability to pay its debts and its bills, that the combined reserves stood at $1,438,000, up $373,000 over last year. Tangible capital assets stood at $2,421,000, that's down slightly, $36,000 lower than last year. And that's largely an accounting entry.
Thank you, Erwin. Any questions? Steve, any questions?
No, I want to compliment their staff, and I think they've done an exceptional job.
I agree. Thank you. We'll move on to protective services. Mike, we'll hand over police and the CSOs, and maybe you could introduce a couple of them. So,
I just may be able to do that. Why don't we start with the CSOs? Well, they just got here, so there's not a whole bunch of activity. However, I anticipate that we'll get a lot more activity reported. And Penny is right. We have two of our new community safety officers at the back. Lacey Gaffrey. Hi, Lacey. And most of you will remember Mohit, who has served the community and served it well in years past. And Mohit is back as a community safety officer. It's great to have you both here. Tony Eyre and Marcus Foreman, they're not here tonight. They are the other two community safety officers who will be patrolling primarily beaches and public areas throughout the RM this summer season, and we look forward to, or I look forward to working with them. The focus of their work is to promote community safety and to participate in programs that do exactly that, promote safety in the community. And I'm looking forward again to working with you two, and of course with Tony and Marcus as well. And I just wanted to also take a second just to say thank you to Tony. When he and I kind of found out that the Community Safety Officer Program had to exist due to changes in the Police Services Act, Tony was a huge help in us getting this program put together in extremely short order, and I'm very, very pleased with the candidates that we have with us as the first CSOs in the program. Okay, so thanks again, guys. And I'm going to switch it over very quickly to police. And Stuart, my friend, along with the rest of the municipality, can't thank you enough for once again stepping into the breach and keeping us all safe, and also for assisting in the training and the orientation of our new Chief Constable, Kevin Paul, and our new Second Constable, Audie Rexeidler. And they are now well into it on patrol. There is still some ancillary training that has to take place, and Stuart has been good enough to stay on for just a little bit longer to ensure that the transition is as thorough as it need be. But what was Stuart up to in April? Well, Stuart responded to, among the total of 35 incidents reported, 4 were alarm calls, 7 were calls for assistance, check on well-being. Unfortunately, a couple of death notifications. There was an incident of insecure property, manner of driving. There was a medical attention where Stuart attended to someone who suffered a stroke. There was a motor vehicle collision. Unfortunately, that collision was with one of our forest ruminants, and the ruminant had to be euthanized, unfortunately. Also, 14 special attention visits to Sappies, to here at the senior scene, and also to the Beaches Community Center. And 3 reports of suspicious activity that Stuart attended to. There were no break-ins to report. And I agree with Stuart when he says I think the biggest contributor to that is that prevention through visibility. Stuart has always been very visible throughout the entire community in the vehicles that were purchased and deckled just for that reason, to ensure that they were very conspicuous. And now that we are going to have 2 police vehicles and our CSOs on the ground, once their uniforms come in, Victoria Beach is going to look like the place where you really want to think twice if you are a ne'er-do-well.
I'll bear that in mind.
Yes.
Thank you. Graham, up next is Steve with the fire report. Thanks, Mike.
And I'll just tag on to Mike there and just remind anybody who's thinking about doing something not so smart that our police have about a 1-minute response time. So anyway, on fire, I'm not sure if anybody's noticed, it's a little bit subtle, but the drought is over. Which is great news for our community, at least this year. Hopefully this, not this weather entirely continues, but hopefully keep getting rain. So in total, the Victoria Beach Fire Department was pretty calm and cool and collected. Last month there was only 1 call-up for an assist with a patient over in Pine Falls. The fire department members continue to update and renew their first aid CPR training this month, and they continue to maintain and check all the equipment and gear. The new recruits are finishing up their training and are in the process of doing their testing. The regular training has started, and they are prepared for the busy season ahead. So Victoria Beach is very well protected. Just a reminder to get your fire permits signed, sealed, and delivered, so that way your property can be inspected to get your fire permit. Remember, if you don't have a fire permit, you have an outdoor fire anywhere on your property, then you will be ticketed. If you have a fire anywhere that's not on your property, on municipal land, then you will absolutely be ticketed. Again, just a fire smart reminder, remove all the leaves and materials from under your buildings. If you have removed all materials from under your buildings, awesome. You're about 10 steps ahead of everyone else. But there are leaves that have congregated there over the winter, so be sure to remove those because they are a fire hazard, even right now, because they're drying up. With your leaves, you cannot, the best recommendation is to toss them into the bush about 10 feet away from your cabin, no closer, because what that's going to do is it's going to keep the soil moist, which is going to keep the trees moist, which is going to reduce your fire, the likelihood of a fire and chips as well. Also, remove and replace your conifers with deciduous trees. Conifers rot from the inside, which is why they break unexpectedly, as we experienced in this last month, where we had, or in this last week, we're going to have down power lines, which are obviously a threat to the RM. And on the positive note, they get rid of mosquitoes and crows because they prefer conifers. So the last couple of things, just sign up for Connect and use your Victoria Beach address, not your address in Beijing. And for Fire Smart, please review the Fire Smart program. It is really essential to keeping the RM of Victoria Beach safe, and it does not mean clear cutting your property. You can ignore the distance regulations aside from about 10 feet away. Everything else on there is valid and can get you Fire Smart certified.
Thank you, Steve. All right, I'll move on to special events. I have received 2 requests to book the Vincent Memorial Stage for 2 Lake Winnipeg Foundation fundraising events. One is on Friday, August 5th from 9:30 till 3, and that's the Ride to the Lake event that happens. And the other is on Sunday, August 7th from 9 until noon, and that is the Walk for Water event. And also I'd like to remind residents of the upcoming Community Wildfire Preparedness event, which is being hosted by our Fire Department, Council, and our Emergency Consultant, Shelley Napier, on Sunday, June 5th from noon to 4 at the Beaches Community Center on 59. Refreshments will be served. And please take the time to come out and join us, talk with fire experts, emergency experts, and council on this very important topic. All right, moving on to the golf course. Back to you, Mike.
Well, speaking with Carl, some of his staff have returned. They're cutting grass and cutting down and removing fallen trees from the golf course. It's the season has been a little slow to start, but Carl chalks that up to the fact that it's been, well, the way it's been, cold and wet. But he is ready for everybody to come out this May long weekend and enjoy another great season of golf.
Thank you. One of the things I know that comes up every year is, why does the golf course have water? Why don't we have water? The golf course has a separate water system that comes straight off of the wet well at the Torrey Beach Water Plant, and it is unfiltered, untreated water, and it goes directly to the golf course.
I said one more thing.
Sure.
A couple of the locker rooms, a couple of the buildings at the golf course are in bad need of re-shingling, re-roofing. It's a rolled roof, and we cannot find anyone local who has the time to do it. So if anybody out there has connections,
I have connections. Well, I used to. I'm not sure you're still talking to me. Can we talk about this later? I gotta go over and take a look and see with my own eye, and then I got a couple of prospects I might be able to drag kicking and screaming into this. But I have to look at it, you know what I mean?
perfect, thank you.
Okay, it shall be done.
Thank you, Graham. Nice segue into municipal buildings, Graham,
Oh, absolutely. Just smooth as silk.
aren't we?
With municipal buildings, first of all, turn myself on, okay. Oh, this is kind of long. I'm gonna go through it pretty quick right here. Police housing, the new modular home dubbed the Barracks has been successfully set up. Sewer, water, hydro, and internet are all hooked up and running. Sincere thanks to the volunteers who helped unpack and assemble the furniture package included with the building and the purchasing of all supplementary household goods likely to be required by our CSOs. And as Mike has pointed out, they began arriving yesterday or the day before. Other features will soon include decks at front and back door. Well, poof, just like that. They were finished about 3 hours ago. Nice decks, legal, within code. And a skirting package is going on by Best Buy Homes, arrangements to install a washer and dryer that was repurposed out of the old one. Future options include upgrading the water supply and hydro services to year-round capability if and when they're deemed required. It's a beautifully appointed brand new building that should serve us for many years. Moving on to the bakery. Progress is being made on extensive floor repairs, electrical improvements, and the purchase by the leaseholder, Jen Leslie, of all the machinery, including ovens, required for successful operation. Our CAO, Lon Turner, is overseeing the various quotes being sought and maintaining contact with Jen to help expedite the planned startup this summer at a date to be announced. Council continues to be as supportive of her commendable efforts as our budget will allow. And on the poor old Moonlight Inn, I'm going to be meeting next week with a local contractor to discuss the remedial repairs called for by the CKP engineering study done last year and to obtain some budget pricing. A decision needs to be made on the timing of the public meeting to be chaired by Doug Pollard to consider renovation proposals and funding mechanisms. It may be that with the calls already out there for public contributions, both for the tennis court and also the bakery, currently in play, we might have to hold this over to 2023 when there's less competition to contend with. My concern is donor fatigue. There is a possibility that that public meeting can come off this summer, but it might be wise to move it to 2023. I'll discuss that further with Doug and the various players. And that is my municipal building report. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Any questions, Council? Steve? No? Okay, thank you. I don't mean to ignore you, Steve, sorry. Just yell at me if I do. Up next, Dr. Cottage Committee, Irwin.
The Doctors Clinic Committee met last week. Plans are in place to complete the spring cleanup as soon as the water supply is operational. The terms of reference, which was tabled last summer, was reviewed, and a few proposed changes are being suggested, and Council will have that document in their hands within the next day or so. The schedule of doctors for the summer is almost complete, and so it looks like we're going to have the Doctors Clinic operational again this summer.
Thank you. Communications, Steve or Mike, have anything to add?
Okay, just that we continue to update folks. I know the folks in Winnipeg are doing a great job on the website, keeping the site current, and we're trying to do the same and keep up on the Facebook page.
Steve, anything to add? Okay.
Other than that, just again, a reminder, if you sign up for PEC, use your Victoria Beach address. I'm just going to keep repeating it because people keep putting up their other address for some reason.
Okay. Thank you very much. Summer Information Office. I would like to advise residents that we are still looking for mature individuals to work at the Summer Information Office this year. We're getting a little close on the timing. The office is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, from Thursday, June 23rd to Sunday, September 4th. We're opening on the Thursday prior to the restriction going into effect at 11:59 p.m. to allow contractors and permanent residents to pick up their passes and some medical passes. So resumes should be sent to our CAO at vicbeach@mymts.net as soon as possible, please. If you think anyone out there that you know might be interested in a summer position, that would be much appreciated if you could forward them that information. Building Inspector, Graham.
I have the report for the month of April from our building inspector, Curtis Baudouin. He has reported 2 main buildings, 1 renovation, 1 demolition, and 4 additions. Doesn't sound like much, but they add up to $643,000. And the fees collected, $6,067. And our favorite part of this, the year-to-date scorecard, value of permits, $2,400,000. Permit fees, $22,485. So thank you, Curtis, for your report.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right. Moving on to accessibility. Council and the Accessibility Committee have been made aware of the upcoming webinar to do with accessible standard for communication. That's further down on our agenda. Council members also recently met with members of the Albert Beach community who have concerns about the Albert Beach accessibility project on the undeveloped road allowance at Safi Road north of Pitt Road. Further discussions with the stakeholders are planned. That is my accessibility. All right, thank you. Heritage, Steve?
Anything on Heritage, Steve?
Yeah, only that we're still open for receiving nominations for the volunteer award. Aside from that, I don't have a report.
Steve, on that, can I ask when the last year's award recipients will be receiving their plaques? I've had an inquiry.
Sorry, I've only had an issue with actually receiving them. I've had to cancel about 2 different orders with 2 different companies. Apparently, everybody is getting overloaded with the shortages of materials right now. So I've had to switch to something entirely different, which is going to be a metal plaque. So that should be on the way within the next week. I believe the due date was set for delivery.
Okay, great, thank you. Trails. Once again, Steve.
For trails, the cross-country skiing is obviously over now. Aside from that, really the biggest thing for trails is that we need to get the swing gates installed. If necessary, I can send out the mapping list to where we need to put them. I know that one set might be reserved for Albert Beach, given the conversation that we had recently, but that's essentially it for trails.
Okay, I received a text from a resident on the weekend, or on Monday, yesterday. A couple of guys went out this weekend to clear all the walking trails of fallen trees. They walked around them all with their chainsaw and cut them up and got them out of the way so folks can safely use the trails. So thanks to these two gentlemen for getting out there.
Just wondering if the gentleman with the chainsaws could take a meander through the trails between King Edward East and Watershed Beach sometime.
I'll ask.
Again, I'd only point out that sort of that example that you just gave is another reason why we need to have a municipal tabs on volunteers who go out into the bush. It's dangerous to go out on your own with a chainsaw, regardless as to whether or not you're doing good work on the trail system. There's so many things that can happen. At this point, given that we don't have a program because of the logistical challenges that we've had with the website, it is absolutely crucial that you let somebody know if you are going into to cut trees. I've had a couple of near misses when I've done it, only because of how much destruction is in that system. One tree goes down, you didn't see another tree that was already broken, and it comes down and almost takes you out. So I know that there's a very large volunteer community that's going in and doing this work, but I really feel strongly that we need to get a volunteer system that's done through the municipal website, so that way we know where people are going, when they're going, and we know who's certified and when.
Okay, thank you. All right, gentlemen, committee reports. Be it resolved that, oh, hang on, sorry, here we go again. Be it resolved that the main committee reports be accepted as presented. May I have a mover? Graham, thank you. Second, Mike, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Wait a second.
Sorry, carry on.
Further discussion, sorry.
Apologies.
3 points. Number one, Mike, there was some talk about a truck, presumably from Public Works, that the CSOs can use to get around. And there was even some conversation of getting some decals to put on the doors. Is that idea still in fruition?
The idea is still there. There was the old white police van that has been stripped of police-related gear so that someone with a Class 5 license can't drive it. Yep. And rather than decaling, we're going to go ahead with door magnets, because this vehicle should never ever go over 70 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. The door magnets is what I meant to say. So is that going to happen?
It's going to happen, yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much. Number two, Steve, did you submit a copy of the fire report to our CSO? Because we're obliged to send quarter, or a CAO, we're obliged to send updates from time to time to RM of Alexander. And so do you have a report that you got from Brad that you could share with Lon?
Yes, he's asking.
He's got it.
Oh, okay, that's great. Thank you very much. That answers that. As far as the Summer Information Office, I know we hate spending money on advertising, but geez, you know, throw a little something in the free press. We got to attract some attention. How much is it going to cost for a small help wanted ad?
$1,000.
No,
who's going to commute from the readership area of the Free Press to Victoria Beach?
Well, is there any place else? Well, use the Winnipeg River Advocate. They're cheap.
They're the same price as the Free Press.
You're kidding.
There are a couple of notices in here, Safi's,
Yeah.
and Trappers Bay Corner.
Problem is everyone's looking for staff this year as well.
Yeah, there's, I could maybe do some little posters for some of the stories. Can I find the information on our website to guide me as to what our little ads, what our little posters going to say?
The information is under employment opportunities.
Okay, if I get the chance, I'll do some, just 8.5 by 11 and put them around a little bit.
There's a PDF.
Yeah, I never should have stuck my foot in this. Now I'm the volunteer, but somebody's
Yeah.
got to.
Send me the, whatever you're gonna put up, and I can put them up in the vehicle restricted area.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Oh, now I
sorry, any
really
other
have to
comments,
do
gentlemen? All right.
Help wanted.
Only that I just sent off those reports.
Okay. All right, I'm going to call the question then, gentlemen. All those in favor?
Absolutely.
Committee reports, carried. Thank you.
It's a long one today.
Oh, we're almost halfway.
Almost halfway. Moving on to accounts and finances. Be it resolved, the following list of accounts be approved for payment. Accounts payable checks 10115 to 10166 in the amount of $209,757.12. Visa statement dated April 21st, 2022 in the amount of $1,814.32. May I have a mover, please? Erwin, thank you very much. Second? Mike, thank you. Erwin, any discussion, comments?
I've reviewed the accounts payable. There were two notable items. One in the amount of approximately $25,000, and that was a payment for the clearing and preparation of the area where the new transfer station will be located. And secondly, there was a big whopping insurance bill. I wish I were the broker on this one, $102,000 to pay over to Western Financial, but that represents a very small increase over last year. Again, the insurance program through the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, which I have no connection to, is extremely well managed, and the rate increase that we had this year was minor compared to what many of the other commercial activities are having to put up with. So, the rest of the accounts payable are of a routine nature.
I had one minor irregularity on a check issue that I brought to Lon's attention, and he's assured me he's going to look after it.
All right, any other comments on finance? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you very much. Business arising from the previous meeting. A reminder to residents, after hours, Public Works phone number is 204-756-2568. And B on our agenda, number 9, discussion regarding the date of the second hearing for the zoning bylaw, 1622. Lon, do you want to speak to this, or do you want me to just say we're looking at? Okay, we're looking at July 5th. Our planner, our new planner, old new planner, is available that day. We're looking at 1:30, 1 or 1:30 in the afternoon. So I'm looking for consensus from council that will work for you. It is also a council meeting day, so we'll be back here at the social scene at 7 o'clock that night. Does that work for everyone? It's the summer, Steve should be on the beach.
I don't have a problem with the dates, but I'm just wondering if 2 meetings in one day is going to perhaps limit the number of people that will attend 1 or 2 of the meetings. Maybe it makes more sense to spread them out.
I would argue that we're here. Lon only has to come up the one time. I'm sure Larissa doesn't, may not matter as much to Larissa, our planner, but I don't know.
It's my understanding that the hearing will be rather narrow in scope. It deals only with certain elements arising from the last meeting.
Only the changes to the bylaw.
Only the changes, that's it. So it might go fairly smoothly. I assume you've heard from the majority of us that 1:30 on July 5 is okay, or have you?
I'm sort of hearing that now.
You're looking for that now?
I'm looking for that now.
I'm okay with the time from a personal point of view. I just wonder out loud about our electorate.
Well, yeah, we have to get the problem is we have to get the 40 days notice out. So we need to make a decision, and I think the people who will be coming to the hearing may be some of the same people who may come to the meeting in the evening. I'm not sure.
Yeah, or perhaps there'll be sparse attendance to the council meeting, but we have to get this hearing out of the way, so 2 in one day, it probably won't hurt us too much.
Mike, what say you?
The only note that I would make is that the meeting at night is going to be recorded and posted, so if anybody has missed anything, then they're going to have an opportunity to see it online. They always have the opportunity to email in, they see the agenda ahead of time if they have any concerns, so I don't really see too much of an issue, and as has already been pointed out, the afternoon meeting would be quite short. It's not going to be like the last one, or the last one even was about Long Island.
And I'm just going to have to depend on the fact that that folks who have a vested interest in what's being reviewed, it'll be important enough to them that they can make the time to be at a 1:30 meeting.
All right, so I'm hearing that 1:30, July 5th. Next, we have to check with our social scene
Should be okay.
conveners. Okay, because we have to put an ad in the Free Press, so
If there's an issue, I'll let you know first thing in the morning.
let this guy know. Okay, thank you very much. All right, thank you very much, council. So, moving on to other business.
Did we pass up on water drainage?
I don't have anything that says water drainage control.
Arising from previous item B.
I guess I have a different,
Okay.
agenda.
Well, there was a revised agenda.
Sorry, okay.
Or the draft.
I didn't get that, sorry. Water drainage control, my apologies.
What was that about?
That was the first one that came up, and then we just moved it. I thought it'd be covered in Public Works, but I guess we can talk about it now, I guess, if you want. So if you could.
What's your background referring to?
We're talking about Albert Beach, gullies in the sand?
Yeah, if it's not on the agenda that we voted to approve, let's move on.
All right, I'm not sure what that referred to, but, okay. Well, we will move on. It's been a long evening, so, other business.
So we're just going to table B?
It may already have taken care of itself, if we're talking about the same thing.
If we're talking about the overland flooding that's been an issue in Albert Beach that has been dealt with, again, I don't know what the background was on it. So
There's not too much more we can say on that.
oh, okay. So I think we'll move on. But thank you. To other business. I hope I've got the right lineup here.
Yep.
Legal survey of the Albert Beach road allowance north of Pitt Road. Be it resolved to approve and obtain a legal survey of the undeveloped road allowance in Albert Beach north of Pitt Road. May I have a mover? Erwin, thank you. Second? Mike, thank you. Any discussion? All right.
We've agreed on this.
We've agreed on this. This is the first step in determining where our property lines are on the undeveloped road allowance in Albert Beach. That is part of what we hope to go through with, or to continue on with the Albert Beach accessibility project to be determined. All right.
Cost of about $1,000.
We estimate $1,000. All right. Any further discussion?
I would only note that if we're going through this process, that we need to be using metal stakes, because unfortunately a couple times we've been using wood stakes in the past, and as great as wood stakes are, it'd be a lot better if we're doing a survey where it's just there and we can go back to them whenever we need to in the future.
Good point. I think the cost is dramatically different, but we'll have Lon ask. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Steve, are you in favor? You're not on the screen.
Say aye, Steve. Oh.
Aye, aye.
Steve? Thank you. Carried. right, thank you very much. Bylaw 1630. Be it resolved that bylaw 1630, closing a municipal road and authorizing the sale of land, be given second reading. May I have a mover, please? Mike, thank you. Second. Graham? Thank you. Any further discussion on this, gentlemen?
No.
Discussed it.
Yeah.
It has been discussed at first reading. All right. Hearing nothing, all those in favor?
Aye.
Steve? Carried. Thank you. Third and final reading, which will be a recorded vote. Be it resolved that bylaw 1630, closing a municipal road and authorizing the sale of land, be given third reading and passed. May I have a mover, please? Erwin, thank you. Mike, second. Thank you. Any further discussion on bylaw 1630?
No, it's just the other side of the coin. It should go through automatically.
And this is a recorded vote. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Steve?
Recorded vote, Steve.
Aye.
Thank you.
Carried, unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Bylaw 1631, opening a municipal road or back lane, second and third readings. So be it resolved the bylaw 1631, opening a municipal road, be given second reading. May I have a mover? Mike, thank you. Graham, second. Any further discussion on this? Lane for lane? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried, Steve? Carried, thank you. Bylaw 1631, third and final reading, recorded vote. Be it resolved that bylaw 1631, opening a municipal road, be given third reading and passed. May I have a mover? Mike, thank you. Second, Erwin, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Carried, unanimous, thank you. They've been opened and closed and opened again. All right. Accessibility standard for employment policy. Be it resolved to approve RMVP policy 2022/2, the accessibility standard for employment. May I have a mover?
I'll move that.
Graham, thank you. Second. Mike, thank you. This accessibility standard was circulated to council a couple weeks ago. It has also been circulated to the accessibility committee, and some slight revisions were brought forward which were added into the standard. Any comments or questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Owen? You in favor? Okay. Carried, unanimous, thank you.
And thank you, Penny, for the work you put into that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Meals and travel allowance policy, resolution. Be it resolved to approve the RMVB policy 2021/1, meals and travel allowance. I have a mover. Mike, thank you. Second? Steve, do you want a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Thank you.
Good.
All right, so this is an update. Lon had a look at our policy and felt that we were starving ourselves at our meetings, and our employees. So we have increased the meals to $75 a day in total. But I believe the travel allowance is still 50 cents a kilometer.
Yep.
Right? Erwin?
I'd like to speak to that mileage allowance. I mean, in the last year, we've seen the cost of fuel increase by approximately 50%. Our employees, it's not just for the benefit of council. Our employees are asked to go to different meetings, different training sessions, and I think it's just unreasonable that we don't increase the mileage allowance perhaps by 10 cents a kilometer. Fuel is not the only operational cost. Depreciation on the vehicle, automobiles are costing more, maintenance is costing more. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that number of 50 cents has been in place for a long time. So perhaps a small increment would be appropriate.
I don't disagree, but as Lon pointed out earlier, the province is still at 46 cents a kilometer, and it's low, especially given the price of gas. But council, what?
I think it's reasonable. I don't think gas is going to stay where it is forever. And it's certainly something we can revisit if the price of gas goes back to a reasonable rate somewhere down the road.
If it hangs in at the high registers, then we may have to revisit this, and 10 cents is not unreasonable. But in the meantime, and who knows, maybe the goof-off province will actually do something to give us some elbow room. But let's keep it on the back burner for a while. So it's not a bad idea.
Steve, do you have a comment?
No, I think I concur with Mike on this. It would be nice to see a little bit higher, but I mean, we do have our budgets to think about. I also think that it is hopefully just for the short term, and that we can always revisit it later. I think 10 cents is more than reasonable at this time anyway. And I mean, if it turns out that, God forbid, gas goes soaring once more, then we can revisit it even in the next meeting if really necessary. So I think that it's just fine.
So I'm hearing that it's fine at 50 cents, or is it fine at 60 cents?
Fine at 60 cents.
Sorry, 60 cents.
Fine at 60 cents.
Subject to review.
Subject to review.
So are you saying we increased to 60 cents?
I think they are saying increase to 60 cents, whereas I think,
Yes.
Graham, I heard you say 50 cents should be it should stay at 50. Going once, going twice.
Let's make it 60.
All right, 60 cents.
Are you creating a resolution while we wait?
No,
I'm not
it's
making a change.
Okay.
it's part of the meals and travel allowance. We're not.
Yep, okay.
All right, so amending that, or not amending the resolution, but amending the policy. Everyone is okay on that?
Yes.
All right, all those in favor? Steve?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. Accessible standard for communications webinar to be held on June 2nd from 1 to 3 p.m. We have a resolution for council members and staff who wish to attend. Be it resolved that all council members be authorized to participate in the accessible standard for communications webinar on June 2nd from 1 to 3 p.m. Further be it resolved the municipality cover all associated costs to attend said event per the terms of bylaw 1613. May I have a mover?
I'll move that.
Graham, thank you. Second? Seconder? Anybody?
No, second.
Thank you, Steve. Any further questions? All right, I encourage all council members and staff members, admin staff, if they can attend, that would be great. And I would like to pass this, I have passed it on to the accessibility committee members if anyone want to attend. We do have an accessibility budget. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. June district meeting, Eastern Region. Be it resolved that all council members be authorized to attend the AMM district meeting on June 16th, 2022. Further be it resolved, municipality cover all associated costs to attend said event as per the terms of bylaw 1613. May I have a mover? Mike, thank you. Second?
That's going to be
Graham,
in
thank you.
person.
This is an in-person meeting. It is held in, I put it down, this year's meeting will be held in person and is being hosted by the RM of Springfield at the Dugald Community Center. And it starts at about 8:30 in the morning and usually goes to about 3:30. And they'd like you to sign up as a block, so I'm more than happy to do that tomorrow if you like, if I know who's going to attend. Any discussion? Further?
Is there any cost?
I'm not sure what the,
I don't know.
I think the RM hosting it generally covers the cost of, of food, etc. So it's just it's the mileage and the time. So any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Steve, thank you very much. Carried.
Just a quick question for Juan. When will the new meal policy be effective?
Right now, you just passed.
Okay.
Thank you. It's law.
So we'll have to get Tammy or Michelle to change the form for council indemnities. For instance, we submit.
Yeah, that template.
Yeah.
Right.
Just a suggestion, that means you're going to have split calculations for mileage before and mileage after. Why not make it effective June 1st?
That's not a bad idea. I like
Sure.
I like that.
Thanks, Erwin.
Just massage the resolution with you.
That's okay. All right.
Pretty sure.
We're getting there. All right, correspondence is next, gentlemen. And perhaps this will address what we didn't address in business arising. We've had some communication with residents in Albert Beach about some overland flooding that resulted due to high precipitation events, snow and frost sitting in the ground. Public Works had pumps going to drain the water over the dike in front of Traverse. There was a lot of water at the end of Rouge Girard and some on Rouge Girard. Our fire chief did view the area and the dike, and any erosion caused by draining of the properties, by the hoses draining the properties, can be addressed. Our fire chief was not concerned that there was too much damage done, if any, to the dikes. Cottager's Guide for the first time in 33 years. The May long weekend ad bag, which contains the Cottager's Guide to the Eastern Beaches, our Bible, and the 2022 information for residents card will not be delivered until later in May due to paper shortages at the printer.
Yep.
And I also got a robocall today from Manitoba Hydro advising me that there's a pole review and replacement program going on in our area and or coming soon. So Hydro will be in the area looking at our poles. And a reminder to residents that Manitoba Highways changes the speed limit on PTH 59, Highway 59, to 70 kilometers an hour from Safi Road north this weekend. So beware, mind the speed limit. Anyone else? Erwin?
Can I just come back to the Albert Beach situation?
Certainly.
Well, there currently does not appear to be any substantive damage to the dike at this point. My concern would be if we had a strong northwest or a strong, even worse, a strong northeast wind, with that dike being exposed, the wave action could further erode the damage and extend and possibly damage the dike. We've seen what the lake can do, and I would hope that the Public Works could move quickly. I realize they got their hands full with water, but as quickly as possible we need to restore and repair the damaged area.
Thank you. Any other correspondence, Mike?
More through social media than correspondence, but if you still have your bird and deer feeders out, folks, the bears are awake. Bring them in. Thank you.
Bring the bears in or the feeders?
Yeah, well, if you bring the bear in, less problem for me, but no, bring the feeders in, please.
Penny, your remarks on the Albert Beach. I don't think you mentioned that our fire chief, he did bring in some barricades that had been requested for that.
Yes, he did.
Okay, thank you very much. I have one. Correspondence from a Watershed resident. Apparently our Public Works group had to remove a rather large tree that was blocking one of the paths, and they tore the hell out of the south end of Ed Randall Park. I will be replying to them in due course that the matter will be referred to Public Works after they get the water up and running, which is the main priority for all of us right now. Thank you.
Okay, there were some big trees that came down, and Public Works was out. The fire department was out Friday night, Saturday. So, and they're still taking trees down, moving them off roads. So people, check your cottages. Or have someone check them for you. Steve, do you have anything?
No, I don't have anything at all this time.
All right. Anything else, gentlemen? Juan, do you have anything?
Just two things with Albert Beach flooding. there's that questionable area that's kind of filling up, just because there's 2 culverts that are currently plugged with beaver dams, and they've done public works to do this. They will get to it, plug those dams, and hopefully relieve some water pressure on that one area of our beach. There's no houses in that area right now, but still it's private lands.
That whole drainage problem in Elder Beach needs to be addressed. The culverts are tiny. The water, as I jokingly referred to, the bottom of Traverse Boulevard is a great water retention pond, except we don't want it there. So, you know, we have to address that in time. Move the water west, improve the ability to move the water over the berm. Unfortunately, that area is low, and it's going to remain low. We have to deal with it.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, gentlemen? All right, hearing nothing further. Be it resolved that the May 17, 2022 regular council meeting be adjourned. Next regular council meeting to be held on June 7th, 2022 at 7 p.m. here at the social scene at 3 Atia Road, Victoria Beach. May I have a mover?
Oh, look at that.
Great, Mike, second. All those in favor?
Oh, yes.
Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.